Hey everyone, I recently saw a documentary that was very punk rock, and I was inspired to create something using punk rock and repetition, and I thought it'd be really cool to show you guys how to create this. So let's dive into After Effects and let's recreate it. It's really, really simple. So here we are in our first composition, and you can see we've got our main character here. It says Sex Pistols, and all we've done is apply a black and white tint effect to this image just to make it black and white. And you can see we've got lots of repetitions here of this actual character. Typically, what a lot of people do here is you'd create keyframes, right? And this character's kind of moving up and down like we see here. And then it just has a simple loop out duration expression applied to it. So it's moving up and down, and just keeps repeating it like that. And if we want to create kind of like this worm repetition effect, one way you can do this is just to duplicate this layer and then hit A for anchor point and scoot the other layer, a little bit over like so. Maybe move it on the timeline so it's a little delayed, and we get something like this. And you could, duplicate it again, anchor point, make sure it's like so. Now the problem with this is at the beginning, the images aren't there, and we have to, duplicate a lot of layers to make this. So an easy way to do this is, let me undo these layers here. We can actually use an expression and we can index these layers. And I'm not going to go into a whole detail how you do this, but if I show one of these, if I hit UU, you can see we've got a simple expression here where we're indexing the layer, and it's linked to this controller layer up here, which is the delay. And this is telling it how much of a delay we want. So if we increase this delay, it completely changes the look of things. Go ahead and undo that. And what's cool about this is if I was to go to the last layer here and just duplicate, you're going to see that it continues to build this worm effect as many times as I want. So I could make this, really long if I wanted to, and it just, repeats itself. So that's how we built this. I've got some tutorials, some courses, workshops in my Motion Science membership that talk more about this kind of stuff, and we do some different examples, but this is a pretty cool way to do it. And in that workshop, I really break down this technique for you. So that's the first part of this tutorial. Let's move into the next composition now. So we've got our set amount of layers here. And all we're doing now is just building a background for these Sex Pistol layers to live on. So the first one we've got here is a wrinkled paper texture. It's just got a black and white tint applied to it. And we're playing with the levels just to brighten up the white values here. Next, we've got another layer here. This is sitting in the background. And it's very subtle. If I go ahead and solo this, you're going to see here is the actual image. It's set to a multiply mode. And it's just creating a little bit of visual interest here behind this. You can see it at the bottom here, kind of see it over on the side. That's all it is. We've got some layers that we've built out for the queen. And you can see that they're moving, right? That's because they all have a displacement map applied to them that are referencing layer 36. Which is the paper smaller wrinkle file that we have here. It's turned off, but it is locked. And if I go ahead and just solo that and just show it to you really quickly, it's just the paper again, just moving, but it's just there for displacement mapping. So it creates this visual interest within the queen design assets. I've got a piece down here of a mouth. And if I turn on the layer below it, you can see here's the queen. And it looks like she's kind of talking, right? Like maybe she's singing to the Sex Pistols song. And then we've got another texture here from Texture Labs set to overlay, and the layer below that is the UK flag. And I've got this type here, Anarchy in the UK, and this has just got a simple range selector applied to the text that just makes it look like it's kind of like typing out here. Really, really simple stuff, but we're layering layer upon layer to create this visual look that you can see here. And this is common in all of our motion science tutorials, is lots and lots of layering. So if I play this back, you're going to see here's what it's looking like so far, and it's coming along right now. It's just kind of got some base to it. So let's move on to the next composition here. And in this comp, we're going to add a Texture Labs texture over the top, and here it is by itself. It's got tint. It's also referencing a displacement map. Above that, we've got another Texture Lab Grunge texture, which is creating these black dots. And then we've got a transform layer applied as well to kind of push in on that image. So we're kind of pushed back, but there's some edge things we don't want to see. So we'll push it in just slightly. That gives us this look. And then for our final look here, we've got some finishing effects over the top. So I'll turn on my lens blur. Again, this is common in a lot of our tutorials. It's a camera lens blur effect that is referencing the layer above it with a soft mask that you can see here. So the edges are blurred. It draws our attention into the center to really focus in on the Sex Pistols graphic. Then we've got a color adjustment layer over the top here with Lumetri color. And it's just giving it kind of like that sepia tint. So this was the original. Lots of bright, saturated colors. We put this over the top and we kind of bring down that saturation, make it look dirtier, make it look grungier, right? For that motion science look. We've also got a Posterize time effect applied. So this is making the frame rate 12 instead of 24 frames per second. You can see here our composition was set to 24, but now we're doing Posterize time. So we're taking those 24 frames and we're skipping every other frame to give it this skippy look. And then on top of that, we've got an add grain effect to it. So let me just show you, without the time effect applied, we have a smooth animation like we see here. But when we turn that on, it makes the repetition of the Sex Pistols graphic really cool. Like, it makes it much more interesting. It's not so fluid and smooth. The same with the displacement map that's happening on the background textures. It just gives it a really nice visual look to it, a very steppy look. In my opinion, it makes it more punk rock in this way. So that, my friends, is how you create a punk rock title card for maybe, let's say, a documentary or something like that. Super cool looking, very simple to make. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did making it. My name is Cameron with Motion Science, and I'll see you in the next lesson.